What? I didn't have my hearing aid on. I didn't hear that. What?
Hello, and welcome to a merry edition of the Citizen NFL podcast.
Holly and Jolly.
I'm Justin Ritzel, joined as always by Robert Harding and Chris Sciria. Guys, happy holidays. Been away for 2 weeks.
The war on Christmas resumes.
Merry Christmas. Humbug.
Well, you can't say Merry Christmas if it's not Christmas.
That's a fact.
Close enough. It's 4 days.
Happy holidays to you as well, Rick.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we return after a week because sadly
he was on the DL
and painfully.
Rest in peace.
He
was on injured reserve.
I was out with a upper body injury.
Wasn't his brain, by the way.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Of course, talking about some wisdom teeth surgery. It was a fun experience.
How is the jaw? Is it healed to the point where you can deliver the hot takes this week for a half an hour?
It's tough. I'm about 80% like Aaron Rodgers' collarbone. Hopefully I'll be able to perform better than he did.
We don't want to put you on IR for the rest of the season, so.
Yeah,
well,
let's hope not.
Well, unlike Aaron Rodgers, you will be performing in the playoffs, so. Very nice.
All right, guys. So, it's amazing that we've been doing a podcast for about 14 weeks, and we have yet to talk about NFL officiating. So why not now?
Where's that flushing sound?
I'm sorry, I can cue up some sound effects if you want. I mean, I can look.
Because, obviously every week it's something new,
yeah.
Or really something old, because it's always the same rules that people continue to scratch their heads over. This past week, the no-catch rule decided to rear its ugly head in arguably the biggest game of the regular season. Mm-hmm. Patriots, Steelers. Patriots get a late touchdown, take a 3-point lead. Steelers with, I don't know how much time exactly was left in the clock, but right around a minute.
Yeah.
Have to drive the entire field. Roethlisberger hits Smith-Schuster for a 69-yard pass. Steelers are set up in the red zone. Either a play or two later, there's like 30 seconds left at this point. Roethlisberger hits his tight end, Jesse James, in the middle of the field. Kind of right at the 1-yard line. James extends, appears to cross the goal line with the ball. The ball makes contact with the ground. Might have moved, I don't know. Gets called back, no touchdown. Roethlisberger, a couple plays later, throws an interception. Game over, Patriots win. First off, when is enough with the catch rule? Like, come on.
Well, I was reading something on Deadspin about kind of how we got to this point in it, and really it goes back to that play, and I remember this in the NFC title game, the Bird Emanuel.
Yeah, the Rams.
Against
the Rams.
Yeah, when he played for the Buccaneers, and that play, I remember in that era of the NFL, you couldn't trap the ball. Even though you had possession of it, you couldn't use the ground to basically assist you in the catch. Well, in his case, he hauled it in and went to the ground, and he had the ball secured, hits the turf. It may have moved just a slight bit, but he had control of it. It's not like he bobbled it and lost it. It, fully touched the ground or whatever. Well, they called it back, and what was so bizarre about that was that I think it was under 2 minutes, but there didn't seem to be any indication of why they were reviewing the play. They didn't make any sort of announcement. They just went over and reviewed it. But why that's worth mentioning is that set off a series of rule changes almost year after year that led us to the point where we are now, where it's this whole, you have to catch 2 feet, control, football move, all this other stuff. And the Calvin Johnson catch a few years back comes to mind. I watched that again just to see how ridiculous that call was. That he took 2 steps, had the knee down. The only time he lost control was when he got up to celebrate, and they called it back. So, they have to get this under control. I mean, just to see what the catch rule is now. It's cost teams in big games in the playoffs and key situations like the Steelers were in. That could very well cost them the top spot in the AFC. If things play out the way that they might, and they need to go back to a simpler time with the rules, and if it looks like a catch, it should be a catch, and if you want to make definitions on what control is or whatever, fine. But this business about going to the ground and basically saying that the ground can't cause a fumble, but it can cause an incompletion, to me is just ridiculous.
It's like obscenity. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And really,
I think you're referring to pornography.
Well, I'm trying to keep this clean for the kids, okay, man? So, yeah, it's getting ridiculous. I mean, it's just nothing about the NFL can be simple. Everything has to be complicated. It just can't be cut and dried. There has to be a lot of a gray area here. And for the record, I didn't see any of this because I was watching Star Wars at the movie theater at the time. No spoilers. But
we could do a whole other podcast. On that.
You could do it. You yourself.
Oh, here we go.
You yourself could do it. So absolutely. But I did see the replays, and it did look like a catch. I mean, here's the thing. I always thought when the ball crossed the plane of the goal line, touchdown, play over, that's it. Okay? And again, obviously there's a difference between running the ball over the goal line and catching the ball at the goal line and crossing the goal line and, breaking the plane, so to speak. But I thought that James came down with control of the ball and that it was a catch. But the NFL, of course, mucks around and, we have this definition of what a catch is, and it just seems like this did not fit that definition when the rest of us can look at it and say, that's a catch. So I think the NFL is going to continue to tinker with this because that's what the NFL does. And we'll see what happens. But, yeah, not the best of weeks for the NFL and their officiating.
Well, I was, obviously it was a big discussion point on Twitter on Sunday and Monday, and I read one post that basically said, because this is the Jesse James play is obviously not the only one over the weekend that was controversial. There was plenty. I mean, I could think of a couple. I spent the 1:00 time slot watching Green Bay, Carolina, and there was a couple in that game that are just like, you think it's pretty clearly going to be a non-catch one way, and then they call it a catch, and then it's just, it goes both ways, honestly.
I think the issue with NFL officiating is maybe the game is getting so fast, and there's so much stuff going on that even the number, I think they have 5 refs or something, 5 or 6 or 7. There's 7 refs on that field, and the stuff that they either miss things, or you saw there was a play in the Dolphins-Bills game where a Dolphin defender, the face mask on Shady McCoy, they didn't call it.
I'm glad you saw that.
They showed the replay. How could you not see it? And then there were some plays they didn't call on the Bills, or they got called on Miami that wasn't a call. I mean,
hashtag both sides.
That's what I mean. I'm not gonna look. I've never blamed officiating for a loss. Okay, to me, you lose a game because you didn't play well or the opponent played better, or whatever. Officiating.
Well, what about for you, Albany? Was that last night?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Seem to be blaming officials then.
But the ref obviously missed the call on that one. But who knows if the guy makes the free throws or maybe anyways, we're talking football here, by the way, not college basketball. But yeah, so
I thought this was a Last Jedi podcast.
Yeah.
No.
So I'm just saying that I think the NFL needs to do more with officiating in regards of using TV cameras. Because here's the thing. You got these spider cams now, okay? You know what those are. Those are the ones on the wire. And NBC actually broadcast a game last week. It was a Thursday night game where they used the spider cam as the main camera for the game. So if you can have a camera that can go above everything and all these different angles and everything, you try telling me that the NFL can't use that as a way of maybe finding things that the refs on the field see. Maybe we should have fewer refs on the field and use the cameras more and do it that way. Because, maybe there's like one camera that's trained on the offensive line and there's a guy looking at it, and if he sees holding or some other call. Or there's another flag that's on the wide receivers running, running up the field, and that way if there's something with pass interference. Or on a punt return where there's a legal block in the back. Because it just seems like every week there is some call that you just scratch your head and you're like, how did this get messed up? And we have the technology, and we should be using it to make sure these games are properly officiated, and we're not getting these numerous mistakes from week to week.
See, I would counter that. Are NFL refs perfect? No, obviously not. And there are a lot of officiating crews that are way more flag happy than others.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Ed Hockley, but.
How do you think he keeps those arms in shape?
Well, that's why he does it. He wants attention.
Flags.
He's a celebrity ref. I mean,
there should be no celebrity refs.
But, lost my train of thought.
Yeah. But Hockley and
that happens with Shearer.
Sorry, man.
I know. But the problem is that it's the rules. Like, the refs are enforcing the rules as it is written in the rule book. If the NFL says that there's a certain criteria for what's a holding or for what is considered a block in the back or any of that, then I don't think the refs are necessarily doing a bad job of calling it. It's just like, if this is a rule, then we got to call it. So maybe it's a problem of let's pull back the rules a little bit. Not where there's a safety concern, as far as blocking the back, that's a safety thing. But all the holding and all that, we don't need all that. And then I would also say, Chris, I think technology has hurt this whole thing. I think the league is better off with less instant replay. Mm-hmm. And that's not just football. I think that goes for all sports. Yes, is the ultimate goal to try and get it right? Yes. But when you're looking at frames that are just like, I don't know the exact technological term for camera work, but you're slowing these down 1,000,000% to see if a ball moved an inch. Come on. So, I don't know. Before we switch gears, just give me your guys' take on kind of what should be the ideal rule for what is a catch, what is not a catch. Because I'm of the position that 2 feet down, you have the ball in your hands, it's a catch. None of this. You have to maintain it to the ground. Go
survive the ground.
Go get a cup of coffee for the ref before you hand it to him.
You have to let me just. You survive the ground. Is that what the official said the other day?
That's
survive.
That's basically
the ground.
Rule.
By the way, they're selling T-shirts with that on.
I think that's Blandino speak.
Yeah,
he likes to say.
Well, but you can't blame him anymore. He's no longer with the league. There, he's doing TV now. So survive the ground. When you say that a catch has to survive the ground, we are in trouble as fans, as a league. It's ridiculous. You have to survive the ground. That's like the ground's attacking you. Oh, man, that ground, holy cow, I barely survived it. It was horrible. Seriously, when you're using terms like survive the ground, that's when you know there's a problem, okay? So, like you just said, to me, clear possession, come down with it, 2 feet, whatever, you land, the ball's not touching the ground at all. It's not a trap or anything, or when it's clearly in possession, then that's a catch. Like I said, I think we overcomplicate these things, or the league overcomplicates it. So let's hope that they can simplify. I don't have a copy of the NFL rulebook at hand, okay? So I don't know how big it is. But something tells me that the NFL probably has, created a giant rulebook that is so huge that the referees are just, they're always looking at it. They're studying it. They got to know every single rule. I think their heads are spinning after some of this stuff. It's ridiculous. So I think they need to simplify some things. And in regards to the catch rule, like I just said, they need to simplify that too, because it's crazy. And someone is going to lose. Obviously the Steelers lost that game because of it, but I mean, we're talking this could cost a team a Super Bowl some year,
Well,
or a major game.
You could. I wouldn't make this point, but you could argue in 2014 the Des Bryant dropped it game that might have cost the Cowboys a Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
As I've always said, even if they score a touchdown there's too much time on the clock for Rodgers. But that's an example. It's like, Bryant makes this incredible catch. Basically just leaps over and plucks the ball away from the Green Bay cornerback. He's got 2 feet in bounds. He goes to the ground at like the 1 yard line, and almost, I've heard this point made before, he's almost was too athletic for his own good because he tried to extend to break the plane, and in doing so, really kind of fumbled the ball away. That's really, if you're going to say anything was happened there, it would have been a fumble. But instead they rule it not a catch. So, I mean, that cost what some would say America's team a chance at least the NFC Championship. And yet here we are. It's still an issue. So, I don't know.
Are we going to talk about the touchback? The Raiders, Cowboys, the touchback with...
Yeah, after I tell...
Oh, okay.
Tell
I'm
the
sorry.
listeners
My
who've
bad.
been waiting
Go ahead.
for you to finish.
My apologies. Go ahead.
I too believe 2 feet and possession should be enough for a catch. The thing that's so ridiculous about some of these plays, Jesse James is kind of in that Kelvin Johnson territory, is that the catch has been established. They go to the ground, and you've been conditioned to believe that once you go to the ground, the knee hits, the play's over. And especially, you mentioned the point, the ball crosses the plane, play's over. It's a touchdown. You don't need anything more after that. But the way that they have done it, that now there's this whole, 3-5 step process you have to follow in order to complete a catch, and it's just ridiculous. It needs to be simplified, and that's really the best word I can use to describe it, because you have fans now that are sitting at home where like, well, that looks like a catch to me. But in the NFL rule book, it's like, oh, no. This statute, that statute, it goes on and on. So I think that's really should be the objective, is to simplify it so that not only can the refs, enforce it correctly, but fans can understand it too. Because that's really, you have millions of people watching these games, and they need to understand what they're watching a lot better than they are now.
And at the end of the day, people watch football and really sports in general for the excitement of scoring.
Right.
For the excitement of seeing their fantasy player get them points.
Not me.
Except for old man Sciria here.
Yeah. Wow. What? I didn't have my hearing aid on. I didn't hear that. What? All right.
But, why is the NFL doing all it can to take points off the board when people want to see scoring? That part of it, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I get that, but you know something though? I mean, the defense, you can't completely handicap these guys, okay? I mean, the NFL has changed rules so much since the late 70s to open up offenses. Pass interference rules, and I mean, look, I think the defense deserves a fair shake sometimes, okay? So there's nothing wrong with a good, well-played defensive ball game. It's like a pitcher's duel in baseball. I mean, if you have a 0-0 game where 2 pitchers are dealing it, and it's 0-0 in the 7th or 8th inning, I mean, I'm sorry, there's no offense, but it's still going to be pretty exciting. A well-played defensive game can be good, too, if it's clean and some good plays, and, there's nothing wrong with a low-scoring, good defensive game, too. Because, obviously, what we want is
As
whether...
a Dolphins fan, you're used to those.
I mean, look, we ultimately want good results for our teams, but we want good games. And you can have a great game that's low scoring if it's competitive and goes down to the wire, and you have some amazing plays. Okay, does it happen that often? No, it doesn't. And can it be boring sometimes? Yeah, maybe. But I think for some of these games, we remember them for their finishes. We don't remember what happened in the first quarter as much as we do in the fourth quarter. So there's nothing wrong with the defense being treated fairly with the rules that they can do their job and play up to their best abilities without being, like I said, handicapped by all these rules changes.
So obviously Steelers-Patriots was not the only controversial game this weekend. As you guys mentioned, Cowboys Raiders, the Sunday night game, had multiple occasions where things got a little out of whack.
Chris is getting out his measurement tool. Yeah.
No index card, just a piece of paper.
Just a piece of paper.
That blew me away.
Did you see? Okay, so I think this is worth mentioning. So the official who pulled out the index card is Gene Steratore, who's also a men's college basketball official.
True.
In my opinion, I think he's one of the better refs in the NFL.
He is.
Like when I see he's officiating a game I'm going to watch, I know that it's going to be, a nice clean game. I know, well, most of the time it'll be a nice clean game. I know a couple years ago when they had the officials lockout or whatever, and we started with the replacement refs in 2012. The first nationally televised game the NFL had after the real refs were brought back, Gene Steratore was the official because the NFL wanted to make a point. Okay, here's our real refs back. This is going to be the cleanest game possible. They did that for a reason. Yeah. However, Mr. Steratore has not only been involved in this fiasco with the Cowboys and Raiders, he officiated the Dez dropped it game. Mm-hmm. He also officiated the Calvin Johnson no-catch game.
It's true.
Which is just weird.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, where do you guys want to start? You want to start with the touchback fumble thing, or do you want to start with the index card?
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, the index card thing, to me, I guess the NFL came out this week and said that, it was fine. It's not something that they advise refs to do, but it's not something that was against the rules or whatever.
Yeah, because...
But, I mean, it does put... It does kind of show just how antiquated the tools are for measuring that. It comes down to that razor thin margin, and I guess they advise the refs, just eyeball it. Well, you're looking at that, I'm looking at it on TV, I'm like, well, I think it could be a first down, but who knows? He's right over it. So to test it out, he puts an index. I thought it was crafty. I thought, hey, why not check if you can't tell with your own eyes whether it's there, put the old index card down there like it was, like you're measuring at home or something. Oh, is that there, an extra 1/16 of an inch or whatever? That's how he determined whether the nose of the ball was where it should be. But I just think that highlights, the NFL's problem. They need to upgrade a lot of this stuff and figure out a much better way of doing it. The sticks, these things are like 90 years old. Get rid of them. Figure out a better way of doing it.
Well, this is why we line the field.
Right.
I mean, why do we have hash marks? Why do we have the every yard is marked off? There's everything's marked off. So to me, if you're supposed to get to the 35 to get a first down, the nose of the ball should be touching the line that is the 35-yard line, and that should be a first down. I mean, you shouldn't even need sticks. It's just, like I said, it's something that just blows my mind that here it is, 2017, and we have these issues. I mean, this simple thing, spotting the ball in the right spot. This is where replay comes in handy, okay? Because I understand if you're an official, I think it's the side judge who probably would determine this, but guy's running or something, he catches the ball, he's running with the ball, he gets tackled, he slides or something, or he goes down. Because the idea is that as soon as the knee goes down, where the ball is, that's where it's located. So let's say he gets tackled, the knee goes down, and he continues his momentum continues to take him. Well, the referee can't mark the ball where he ends up finishing where he is when he ends up stopping. The idea is the ball goes where it was when the knee went down. So this is where replay actually can come in handy to say, okay, here exactly is where the ball is on the field when the knee went down or the elbow went down or whatever you want to call it. And this way we're able to figure out exactly where it is. And then know from there, like, okay, they had to get to the 35 to get a first down. The ball's at the 35 when the knee went down, first down. Okay. Index card that was a joke. I mean, I saw that and you're like, it's horrible. It's just, there's no excuse for this. I mean, you look at the chain. I mean, seriously, why an index card? It just blows my mind. You got the sticks, you pull them out, the chain's out, you extend the thing. Does the ball reach the pole? I mean, the end of the pole that goes in the ground when they extend the chains. Does the edge of the football, does any part of the football reach that? If it does, it's a first down. If it doesn't, then the ball changes possession.
That's why I pulled out the index card.
But there was a gap. There was a gap. Wasn't there a gap? The index card fit between the pole and the ball, right? The nose of the football. To me, that says it didn't make it.
Well, I think what happened, if I'm not mistaken, is he pulled out the index card, put it at the end of the sticks, and tried to see if it came down and touched the nose of the ball, and it did.
Yeah.
And so that's how he determined whether it was a first down.
Reminds me of the Pine Tar game. I don't know if you guys, you're way before your time, but
we've seen the YouTube.
But you've seen the YouTube, the Pine Tar game, where they were trying to figure out whether how much pine tar was on George Brett's bat. So they measured it against home plate, because home plate is a certain, I think it's 8 inches or something like that, or a foot, I don't know what it was. So they knew that it was more than that inches, that it was, the pine tar went too high. This is what this reminded me of. It was like you're using unscientific measures or ways or methods to determine something when it shouldn't come down to this. It's crazy. The NFL is the league that can't shoot straight. Seriously. The NFL is the league that can mess up a free lunch. They just can't get anything right all of a sudden. There's always a controversy.
More like Roger Bedell, am I right?
I mean, seriously, we have Deflategate, okay? We have all these things going on. Player gets suspended. Just can't be suspended. We got to challenge it in court, because something might have went wrong with the process in determining whether this player should be suspended. Everything has got to be a drama and a soap opera in the NFL, and it's getting ridiculous. This is football. It shouldn't be complicated. It really should not be. So, end of rant.
I mean, as someone who covered, 13, 14 weeks of high school football does just fine without all this extra crap that we deal with in the NFL. You can still have very exciting, well-played football games without the replays, without the index cards, whatever. So as I mentioned, not the only controversy from that game. Basically, the Raiders are cost the game because Derek Carr fumbles out of the end zone, touchback. Raiders lose the ball. This is something interesting as far as a potential rule change, because you could make the case that why does the defense earn the ball if someone fumbles out of the end zone or whatever, fumbles into the end zone for a touchback when they have never recovered it?
Indeed.
A defense has to actually gain possession of the ball at every other point in the field. Why do they not have to get the ball here yet get the ball? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, another point I made to Chris is that in the last 2 minutes, you're not allowed to, let's say you fumbled at the 50-yard line and it rolled out of bounds to the 40. So, technically you would gain 10 yards in that scenario. Well, under 2 minutes, you can't advance the ball. So it would
Only
go
the
back.
person who fumbled it
Correct.
can advance it.
Correct.
The holy roller rule.
Right. So, you fumble the ball at the 50, it rolls out of bounds to the 40. Where do you get the ball? You get it at the 50, because you can't advance it like that. In this situation, what happened with Carr is that he was extending. He didn't have the ball over the goal line. The ball came out of his hand and went through the end zone out of bounds for the touchback that they called. To me, in a situation like that, you should say just the reverse. Say the ball's going to be marked back to where he lost it, which in that case would have been the 2 or 3 yard line. But there's other instances too where guys diving for the goal line, the ball gets knocked out just a hair short, and the ball goes out of the end zone, and it's a touchback. And like you said, in any other place on the field, never would you have a change of possession in that situation unless there was like a 4th down or something. But in that situation, it just seems like there's got to be a better way, that you're not punishing. You're basically rewarding the defense for not completing.
For not doing anything.
Right. You're just saying, oh, well, they lost the ball, and, when balls go out of bounds in the end zone, we usually grant touchback, so here you go, gift wrapped, change of possession. to me, and I discussed this with Chris before. I think there's a couple different ways of doing it. The one way I mentioned, you mark it back to where the ball was lost, or if you want to do like a touchback, put them back to the if they lose it inside like the 5, close chances are they're losing it close to the end zone. Put them at the opponent's 20. So there is some sort of penalty for losing it, but you're not giving the ball to a team that did not recover the fumble. And, while at the same time trying to find some balance of, well, this team did lose a fumble and it went out of bounds in the end zone. So should we just give it to them at the 1-yard line? Probably not. Maybe the 20 is the compromise.
I was kind of curious, like when this rule was implemented. How long has this been a rule in the NFL, or not just the NFL, but other college football, high school football? I mean, how old does this date? I mean, does this date back to like the 1920s or something, or is this something within the last?
Did you look it up?
No, I didn't look it up. Last 20 or 30 years.
Man, really got my hopes up there.
Sorry, man. I was taking care of your gift, man. I didn't have enough time. So, yeah. All right. So, I see where you guys are coming from, and I agree with you a little bit. I mean, what Robert said about like the ball should be placed where it before it went out of bounds. I get that. I even threw out the idea like if you really want to like hurt a team for fumbling the ball to the end zone, they get to keep the ball, but at their own 20. So they have to start all over again on their own side of the field to move back towards
punitive.
Right, it's very punitive. But I see both sides, and I have to admit Robert's idea that you keep the ball and you get it where it went out of bounds. I mean, not where it went out of bounds, but where the ball carrier lost the ball is not a bad idea.
Well, thank you, Chris.
It's all the spirit of the holidays.
The funniest play I've seen all season happened about a month and a half ago when the Bears had this exact play where their running back, it was Benny Cunningham, was going to trying to get to the pylon, kind of dives from about maybe the 5. His foot kind of scraped out of bounds as he's reaching for the pylon, and just inches away, the ball kind of slips out of his hands for a fumble through the end zone. So the refs ruled him out of bounds at the 2 or 3 yard line. So Bears coach John Fox challenges this, saying, "No, he was in bounds. That's a touchdown." Not even considering like my guy might have fumbled. So what happens? Well, the refs look at the entirety of the play. They don't just look at the out-of-bounds aspect of it. Because he actually, I can't remember if he was actually out or not, but they look at the entire play and they say, well, it's irrelevant if he went out of bounds because the ball was coming out of his hands. That's a fumble. So you go from having 6 points on the board to, or at least the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
If he loses the challenge, to now you don't have the ball at all. So it's just ridiculous. Also ridiculous is this Jerry Richardson guy.
Yes.
Who is now going to have to sell the Carolina Panthers. Maybe having to sell isn't, I don't know, maybe he would have down the line. He's making the decision to sell a team because of workplace misconduct that was reported on over the weekend. I don't want to really get into the, what did Jerry Richardson do, blah, blah, blah. But it does open the door for someone else to come in and buy the team. Chris, you've been pretty vocal about a certain former athlete you think should buy the team.
Air Jordan. I mean, I think Michael Jordan would be a great owner for the Panthers. I mean, he already owns the Charlotte Hornets in the NBA, so he already owns a pro team in that exact city. And Michael's loved in Carolina. I think the NFL would love to have a minority owner, and Michael Jordan would, I think, be a great minority owner. Be a great owner. Period. I mean, I don't want to make this look like he's just going to get it because he's a minority. Michael Jordan's got a lot of money, and I think he's shown that he can run a basketball team adequately in the NBA. I mean, not like the Hornets have won the NBA title, but they have been competitive. They've made the playoffs, so. Unlike other former athletes who have not done well running professional sports teams, Derek Jeter, I think Michael Jordan would be a great owner. I mean, you can have celebrity not maybe necessarily celebrity, but you can also have. He's going to need some other partners to be able to buy the team, obviously. But I mean, he could be the face of the franchise, and I think it'd be a coup for the NFL to have someone of Michael Jordan's, character or level to own an NFL team. So, but we'll see what happens. I mean, because they could possibly sell it to someone who wants to move it.
Someone to watch in this is Steph Curry. And I'm not saying that he's going to become a majority owner, but I think he could be part of as a minority owner, an ownership group that comes in because, look, he's a Panthers fan. So,
but how much money does he have? I mean, that's the thing, and this is one of
the
the things.
NBA is doling out cash.
I get that, but
practically
look,
Brinks armored cars now.
There's player money and there's owner money, okay, and those two things are very
sounds like a Chris Rock, bigger and
different,
blacker
okay?
skin.
No, I'm just saying there's player money and there's owner money, okay. I mean, I don't know whether Steph Curry might have enough money to be a partner.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's not going to buy the team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Derek Jeter. I mean, Derek Jeter, who has a lot more money than Steph Curry does, you would think, because he's played a lot longer and has more endorsements and, older. We were talking about this last night. Jeter only put in 4% of the $1.2 billion that the Marlins cost. Now that's a decent piece of change, but 4% is still just 4%. Bruce Sherman, who is the main guy, he put in, I think, 46% of the 1.2 billion. So we're talking, he put in hundreds of millions of dollars. Derek Jeter probably just put in like maybe a few million. Big difference. So, Steph Curry, look, he loves the team. He's from North Carolina. He played at Davidson, I believe. From having him as a member of your ownership group, yeah, it can't hurt and everything or anything like that.
Put it this way, he's putting in more money than Jeets would.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that in a heartbeat. But
a lot more.
But we know the NFL is a club, and they're not just going to let anybody join the club. So I'm sure that whoever emerges as the person or the group to buy the Panthers is he's going to have to fit into the NFL owners club there. But that being said, I would love to see a minority person, either female or of color or whatever, get the team. I think the NFL needs more diversity at the executive level.
Well, we know a certain music star with a foot in the door who could be in the running. Bon Jovi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. He wanted to buy the Bills.
He did. And moved them to Toronto. Good thing his grubby paws didn't get on my team.
Wow. No.
He would give football a bad name, am I right?
Oh!
He would have shot Bills fans through the heart.
Indeed.
I'm not going to disgrace myself with a John Bon Jovi song title pun.
How dare you?
Bad medicine.
Lay this podcast in a bed of roses.
Never say goodbye, guys. What can I tell you? All right.
No Diddy, no Oprah. Come on,
Oprah would be.
You guys,
I'd love to see
you guys
Oprah.
disappoint me.
I
think
told you
Oprah
guys
would be great.
before we came in here that I'm on the Puffy Combs bandwagon. I'm all for P. Diddy to buy this team.
How the hell did P. Diddy get to be worth $800 million? How many records has he sold?
It's not just records.
Well, I
it's
get
business,
that.
clothing lines.
That's that. Yeah, that's
record labels. They're rolling in cash. Look at Jay-Z. These guys, they're not messing around. They're businessmen.
No,
they're
right.
They're rolling in the dough.
They were smart enough
P.
to
Diddy
realize.
could easily come in and maybe get 50% share. I think
Oprah would be fun though.
A P. Diddy, Steph Curry collaboration.
I would love to see Oprah on the scoreboard after a touchdown. And you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Chris, we know with the NFL rules that'll never be possible.
I think Oprah. Seriously, I think Oprah is a wonderful business person, and I think it'd be fun to see her get an NFL team. I think it really. A female owner. We haven't had that. Well, we actually do have one in Detroit.
The Bears.
And the Bears, yeah. Virginia
Bills.
McCaskey.
But
yeah. Well, she's a co-owner.
It's all the same.
It's not. It's
Come
no.
on.
Her husband owns the team too. Come on.
Oprah would be the first female owner that just straight up bought the team that didn't inherit
Yeah,
it.
she doesn't
So-
need. Yeah, and trust me, she could probably buy it all by herself. She doesn't need any partners if she wanted to jump in. That would be great though.
I don't know. I kind of like all the wacky ideas that Diddy's throwing out as far as, he's calling them the North Carolina Panthers, promises he's going to sign Kaepernick.
It's gonna piss off the South Carolina.
Even though he already
people,
has
man.
a very strong black quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Cam Newton would be thrilled to have Kaepernick on the roster.
That was the weird thing. It's like, do you realize who's on the roster right
Yeah, I
now?
know. I don't think there's an issue there. So I think quarterback is
Only one of the
least,
best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, quarterback is the least of the Panthers' problems. That's for sure. So
Yeah. But Kaepernick is, I know he put out on Twitter that he was interested.
Yeah, he
in,
wants
ownership group.
I will make a
Hey.
poll. I'll make a prediction.
Give him a couple percent.
I will make a prediction that Kaepernick is in the league next year, and not as an owner. I mean, I really feel that he will be on a roster in.
I heard there's a team in Miami that could use a quarterback next year.
Hey, you know
there
something?
you go.
I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against Kaepernick.
At least you know that quarterback
Back it
would
up.
run for a first down.
Yeah.
When he's,
No, hold on. Jay Cutler did run for a first down against the Bills. That is fact. He did actually
it took
do that.
15 weeks.
Yeah,
but he
he's
did
done it a couple. He did against New England too one time. So he actually has done it a couple times. So I can, but irregardless, and we could debate Kaepernick another time. But I really feel that Kaepernick is going to be in the league. So he'll be on a roster for training camp next year. My hunch is because I think this collusion lawsuit is. I think the way it goes away is if somebody signs him. So someone's going to take the bullet and sign this guy in training camp. And then if he makes it, he makes it, and then that's the end of this stuff. For that part of it, at least. Now, whether he kneels for the anthem, that's another thing. That's a whole another debate.
He said he wouldn't.
I don't know if that's
the team
true or not.
signed him.
I heard that too. You're right. I did hear that, and then I saw something like saying, no, I didn't say that. I didn't say I wasn't going to kneel for the anthem. That I was going to stand for the anthem. I don't know if that's true or not. I did hear that though, but I don't know whether that was. I think AP actually might have sent a correction out on that one. I could be wrong. But,
Interesting.
yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was falsely reported.
Yeah.
He never made any comment either way.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Another Spirit podcast after a week away.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't disappoint. We'll be back next week with
Queuing
some
up the flush sounds there, Chris?
Yeah, I was just checking the
really.
Washington Post.
You had 2 weeks to come up with some more sound effects, and we got nothing.
No, you got to save them when it's really worthy. I got one. Let's put it this way. I might have one for next week. We'll see what happens.
We have no idea what we're talking about next week, but Chris already has sound effects queued up.
Yeah. Robert,
All right.
I thought Robert was going to go here. All right. Merry Christmas!
All right. As Chris said, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. For Robert, Harding, and Chris Sciria, this is Justin Ritzel for the Citizen NFL Podcast. Until next time.
All Robert wants for Christmas is a Bills playoff berth. That's it. But he's going to get coal in the stocking.